It's really interesting. Reading Speaker of the Dead, the second book in the Ender Quintet now. Yeah, I'm like 30% into it. I'm kind of breezing through it, right? It's a pretty short read. I came away from Ender's Game thinking it was as good or better than I remembered it. I would honestly come out and suggest that it very well might be red pilled in the sort of way that like Harry Potter is red pilled by being accidentally kind of based and accidentally touching on subjects that like most people don't want to address. Like, Ender's Game is based. Okay, it is a legit classic. It deserves the hype and attention it gets. I highly recommend it. Right, but reading Speaker of the Dead is interesting because this is a book that's actually really special to me, in the sense where I picked it up off the library shelf. Right, at school while we were still studying Ender's Game. Right, I read the book, I read the sequel, Xenocide, and I had like the realization while I was going through this book that like nobody else was doing this, nobody else cared, right? Nobody else was bothering like reading all these other great books in the series because like, ooh, oh, why would I? Like, it's just pathetic, absolutely pathetic. I sneer down at you plebs. But anyway, like again, I really, really remember enjoying Speaker of the Dead when I first read it. I found like the Piccolino's life cycle interesting. I found the concept interesting. Like again, growing up reading this, I came away with like relatively positive feelings towards it. In fact, I think I remember hearing about how polarizing it was and seeing how people like thinking like the Bean books were better, the ones that take place on Earth after the Bugger Wars. Like I remember hearing about how those were way more popular, and I felt like I disagreed, right? Because I did not like those at all at the time. And now as an adult, reading Speaker of the Dead again, like it's really not very good. Like I'm kind of shocked, like reading this, how much I'm really not enjoying it all that much. Right? It's slow, it's plotting, it's confusing, the characters aren't interesting, the motivations aren't fleshed out all that much. Like it's not a good usage of the character. That's the thing that really gets me about this. Like the only thing I had any misgivings about when it came to like Ender's Game was the ending. Because to me, like the story ended like immediately after he was told that like you won the war, Ender. Like to me, that was kind of the ending to it. Like again, everything that happened after that with them like going to the Bugger planet and realizing that like oh they recreated the sequence from your dreams and then finding the egg. Like I think that took away a lot of the impact of what he just did. Right? I wouldn't go so far as to say it ruined the ending, but I do strongly believe that like it was kind of pointless, right? Again, the war against the buggers was justified, right? You could argue that like the methodology they used was ridiculous and they didn't need to like kill them all and like I don't understand why they didn't do this. Like why they didn't just colonize other worlds already and then just like, prepare for the invasion. Like why did they feel the need to go out and kill them all? Like again, it just seemed completely ridiculous to me how they went about this. Like, oh, we need to have this talented super soldier to run all of these ships. Like, no, you don't. Like, again, did you really need to like kill them all at once? Like, it's just, huh? But again, anyway, again, I had like there were some like weird things about the original Ender's Game for sure, but like Speaker of the Dead is essentially to me kind of a culmination of like everything wrong with the ending to Ender's Game, right? This weird idea that like Ender is some kind of messiah figure who started this new humanistic religion and is now wandering from world to world completely untraceable, which in and of itself seems kind of retarded, right? You only have like 100, like again, do you really think society would allow Ender Wiggin to go to the stars and then like not know when and how exactly he died? Right? Like they just assume he's dead because oh, that was 3,000 years ago. When like it's completely plausible that he would just use the technology that's available to everyone and just go from world to world to world to world for like thousands of years. Like again, it's just extremely grating to me. Um again, I really like the concept of like the light speed travel thing, like when it when I first read it, but like the more I think about it, like again, like how exactly is it so difficult for certain people to like realize that like, ooh, Andrew Wiggin is the ender of the Xenocide? It's like this should not be complicated to figure out. Like, come on, unbelievable. So like yeah, like this is this book is essentially about like the people who genocided an alien race discovering a new alien race and then like really anxiously doing everything they possibly can to interact with them in a peaceful way, right? Without like interrupting their culture or like antagonizing them at all. And that in and of itself proves the genocide of the buggers was justified because they didn't fucking do that. They tried like doing this thing where they're just like, we didn't do nothing. Oh, we didn't know that other people have feelings. And I'm just like, you you attacked the colony. Like, what exactly did you think was gonna happen? Oh, we didn't know you were capable of rational speaking. Like, what is that? What difference does that make? Again, fuck the buggers. They deserve to be killed. But yeah, humanity doesn't do that because we're not a bunch of buggers. Okay, we go to the planet, we realize the aliens are chill, and we're just gonna go like, oh yeah, we're just gonna study them and like get to know them and like get to understand their culture. And for some reason, it takes like forever for people to understand like the very basic, simple like reality of their lifestyle because they go to these things like I don't understand this, like they go to this planet and realize within 5 days, oh, these creatures are sentient. Okay, what happens? They somehow learn each other's languages in like a couple of generations, which in and of itself is retarded, even with like the concept of like, oh, the piggies are really good at learning languages. Like, how? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So yeah, so you can like you have no communication problems at all, and yet for some reason you don't know anything about them. You don't know anything about their behavior. You don't know anything about their culture, about like their physiognomy. You don't know anything, and you just jump to really radical conclusions that really should have been figured out upon like studying a body, right? Like, why don't you just set up a camera or something? Like, again, it's like all of this could have been fixed with a camera. Again, it's just bizarre to me because like when you read Ender's Game and you like go through the motions, like you're taken aback by how well thought out it is. You're taken aback by like all the strategies Ender comes up with and like what the government is trying to do and like everyone's personal like feelings on the matter and like the potential like repercussions and just like how corrupt everything is, like how it's great, right? There are things wrong in Ender's Game, but it's cohesive. It makes sense. In like Speaker of the Dead, it feels like Orson Scott Card thought this idea was a lot smarter than it actually is. That's the impression I get reading this, is that like he really thought that like, oh man, in the future we're going to develop a new religion, a humanistic one, and that one is going to be the one that binds alien species together. So like they're going to be burning Bibles as firewood while religiously studying like the Speaker of the Dead, studying the work of Andrew Wiggin. Like it's just like it's so like, why does everything have to revolve around Ender? Right? Like again, this is the thing that really gets me about this, is that this story does not need Ender Wiggin. It really, really doesn't. Like again, it's like he's trying to like redeem the character for what he did during Ender's Game, even though that was completely 100% justified, and even if it wasn't, it would have been the government's fault. So even though that was like 100% justified, like Ender's going around like, oh, I killed an entire species that was trying to kill us. Oh, I'm such a terrible person. Like he tries like making this some kind of like redemption arc for the character when like He doesn't need one. Like humanity doesn't need one. We didn't do anything wrong, and our first contact with the piggies proved that. Like humans did nothing wrong. Like why exactly am I supposed to care about the buggers? Like why? Why should I care? That is like a very simple question that I have never heard answered. Like I don't care. Like I am it's definitely frustrating like reading this again and kind of picking up on all the things that don't really work. And yeah, I'm not even like halfway through yet, and I don't think I like the novel. Very surprising. I enjoyed it growing up for sure. Like there was a lot of creative aspects to it, but again, like having read like more science fiction as an adult, right? Comparing it to Ender's Game specifically, like yeah, the drop in quality cannot be denied, right? There's way too many characters, none of them are interesting. Like concepts like Jane are just kind of thrown at you, right? It's just like really, really, it's to me, I just feel as if this book's reputation, as I recall, is well deserved, right? Like, I don't think it lives up to the original in any way, shape, or form. I think it's a massive step down when it comes to its concept, when it comes to its execution, when it comes to like the characters, like the usage of like established lore. It's like it just feels as if like trying to fit this into the Ender's Game storyline, right? Making this into like some massive character arc for Ender. Like I think that was a mistake from like a conceptual standpoint. Like I think you should have just kept the focus on like the family, focused on the colony, like expanding these characters more. Like Ender just holds it back. Like any potential the story might have had is completely interrupted by this dude who really has no business being there. Like that's all it comes down to. Like it just seems like the entire project was mishandled.